Hello everyone and welcome back to the next installment of our 9.2 raid guides, proudly presented by Coinbase. This is Crazy Puck from Team Liquid, and today we'll show you how to kill the Oracle Dausegne in the heroic Sepulcher of the First Ones raid. Oracle is a single phase encounter. There are 4 large pillars along the edges of the room which come into play for several mechanics. 3 of them will start as inactive, while the eastern pillar starts as active. The boss will have a mana bar. When she runs out of mana, she'll teleport to an inactive pillar and cast Siphon Reservoir. This will activate that pillar and fill her mana bar back up. She'll then cast Inevitable Dominion. This puts a shield on her for 3% of her max HP. While the shield holds, she'll do ticking damage to the entire raid and create puddles around the room that'll grow over time. When the shield breaks, the AoE stops and the puddles disappear. Additionally, breaking the barrier will put a dot on the boss, dealing 1% of her max HP per second for 10 seconds. Whenever the boss has mana, she'll throw several abilities at you. Obliteration Arc will target a random player with a large conal effect. Move out of the animation. Staggering Barrage will target a random player and put an arrow over their head, and then throw 3 orbs in quick succession at that player. This deals split damage to anybody hit in a straight line from the boss to the target, and will also knock back everybody hit. On top of this, being hit will increase your damage taken from subsequent Staggering Barrage casts by 500% for 45 seconds. So you'll need to assign 2 separate soak teams of 4 or 5 people to alternate helping soak this damage. Disintegration Halo will create a halo radiating out from each active pillar. These do not always go in the same order, but you'll be able to see the order by watching the little missile animation she shoots at those active pillars. When you cross a halo, it'll deal mild damage to you and apply a 6-second dot. Each halo taken by itself isn't really too dangerous, but the 6-second dot also causes you to take 500% increased damage by another halo. That's basically lethal. To counter this, when you have multiple halos spawning, you'll need to ensure you let your dot drop off before crossing over the next halo. Also, your healers may want to use a cooldown during halos just to keep the raid stable. Infused Strikes is a tank debuff applied with each melee swing, applying a stacking 20-second dot. When the dot expires, it'll explode, dealing about 5,000 damage per stack to the entire raid. Your tanks will want to swap at about 6 to 8 stacks of this. The boss's last ability is creating a Domination Core, a floating orb ad. These shoot bolts at random players and will also put swirlies on the ground. The swirlies will then explode after a few seconds, dealing damage and leaving behind a permanent puddle. Do not stand in the swirlies and don't stand in the puddles. Your DPS should swap immediately and kill the orb as quickly as possible when it spawns to minimize the number of puddles you get over the course of the fight. As for overall strategy, this boss is actually pretty straightforward. We recommend you use Bloodlust on pull. You'll start over at the east pillar where the boss begins. The tanks should keep the boss near the edge of the room. The raid should stay relatively close to the boss. The reasoning for that is simple. It's way easier to get out of the Obliteration Arc the closer you are to the boss. When a player is targeted by Staggering Barrage, they should back away from the raid a little bit, and your assigned soak team needs to go stand between them and the boss. Remember to alternate soak teams. Keep an eye on where you're standing so you do not get pushed off the platform by the knockback. Before the first Inevitable Dominion cast, you can actually largely ignore the Disintegration Halos, just heal through the damage. When the boss spawns a Domination Core, the raid should all swap immediately and nuke it. As the puddles do eventually start going down, your tanks will need to move the boss around the edge of the room a little bit. When the boss runs out of mana, she'll teleport to the north pillar, siphon it, and cast Inevitable Dominion. Break the shield as quickly as possible, or you'll eventually run out of room from the puddles expanding. The damage here also can get a bit heavy the longer the shield phase goes on, so don't be afraid to use a cooldown if needed. After this first Inevitable Dominion, you'll want to keep the boss between the northern and eastern pillars. From this point on, halos will spawn randomly between the active pillars, so staying in this middle position gives you the ability to shift as needed to whatever pillar gets the halo first. Then, you'll have plenty of time to let the debuff drop before you cross that second halo. From here, you'll really just keep dodging the bad things, killing orbs when they spawn, and soaking Staggering Barrages, and it's really rinse and repeat. The boss will keep doing this until she runs out of mana again, then teleport to the west pillar, drain it, and cast Inevitable Dominion again. Break the shield and go back towards pretty close to the middle of the room here. When she runs out of mana the third time, she'll teleport to the south pillar and drain that one. The real difficulty in the fight comes later on, after you have a third pillar active. With 3 halos, it's fairly difficult to ensure you'll have time for the debuff to expire for each halo. Run through the first halo as quickly as possible, with the whole raid shifting over to whatever pillar the first halo is going to come from. Then, run over the second one as soon as your debuff drops off. Then, run away and give yourself as much time as possible for your debuff to fall off again before crossing over that third halo. This can and will get tight, so be careful. After the boss activates the southern pillar, the halos are even more difficult, so there's now 4. Ideally, you would actually like to kill the boss before that. If the Oracle runs out of mana a 4th time after the 4th pillar is already active, she'll cast Total Dominion, doing mild raid-wide damage, regenerating her mana over 4 seconds, and causing halos to start coming out very rapidly. This serves as a soft enrage, and you basically need to kill her before this happens. If you enjoyed this guide, remember to like it and make sure you're subscribed to the channel to catch all of our previews, guides, kill videos, and more. A big thank you to Coinbase for making guides like these possible. From everyone here at Team Liquid, have a great day, and we'll see you for the next video.